Hi, my name is Jared and this is Horror Obsession. Today, I want to talk about Dreamcatcher, a 2003 sci-fi horror based on a novel by Stephen King. Dreamcatcher is a weird movie because on the surface of it, I should love this movie. It takes place in a frozen, isolated environment, something I typically love. It involved weird space alien creatures, something else I love. Just based on the information so far, you might think this movie is a bit like the all-time classic, The Thing. But let's just say it's not.
What if he's dying? Scooby-Dooby-Doo, we got some work to do now.
I have watched this movie several times now, and every time I watch it, I hate it. The pieces don't come together right, the humor is gross and bizarre and childish, the ending isn't very fulfilling, the acting is horrible, basically nothing works. And yet, a few years later, I'll be scrolling movies and come across Dreamcatcher and think, you know what, I'm gonna give this movie another shot. It's probably not as bad as I remember. But then I actually watch it.
Oh my god.
Why are you the way that you are?
I am going to try and break down what makes this movie so miserable, but first I want to talk about the few things I actually like. There aren't a lot, so let's jump in. First, let's go through the basic setup of the movie. The movie starts out with 4 friends, and we are introduced to them in their regular life. They all have the ability to read minds, which they are using to complete mundane tasks like being a weirdly off-putting psychiatrist or trying to pick up chicks by finding their keys. As it turns out, one of the friends sees a vision of some other kid across the street, beckoning him to go get hit by traffic, and so naturally he goes to get hit by traffic. We skip ahead a bit and all the friends are going on a yearly trip to a cabin in the woods so they can catch up or whatever. Once they're in the woods, a bunch of spooky woods things happen, like critters running away and a giant alien slug biting off a dude's dick. So basically just a typical day in Canada. The friends split up so they can get picked off one by one, and you'll never guess what happens next. Well, maybe you could guess, and if you guess they get picked off one by one, you'd be mostly right. More alien stuff happens, Morgan Freeman shows up as Army Man, and the movie ends with their developmentally delayed friend Duddits getting cancer, going to a water reservoir with them, and then turning into an alien slug and turning the other alien slug into a giant red mist. The end. Oh god, where to even start? Oh yeah, I said I was going to talk about the things that work in this movie. First, the Duddits with cancer stuff actually lands pretty well. The friend group feels a little underdeveloped, but the flashback stuff with Duddits is alright, and then once Thomas Jane meets up with him in the present and we find out he has cancer, there are some nice touching moments, such as his mother waving goodbye since she knows he isn't coming back. I deal with death at my job sometimes, and I've worked with a lot of cancer patients, so maybe I was a bit prone to the emotions they were going for in this scene, but I liked all of that stuff and thought it was executed well. The next positive is also sort of a negative. The movie is about a group of 4 friends who can all read minds, because they helped Duddits from being bullied and he gave them their powers or whatever. There is only one scene where the mind reading is used in a creative way, so that whole aspect of the story felt criminally underdeveloped. The positive here is the one scene is actually pretty good. Basically, Thomas Jane is using his ability to manipulate Tom Sizemore into betraying Morgan Freeman, and he does a good job demonstrating his powers in a believable way. Rushing in too fast might have lost him, but he reveals little bits of information he knows slowly so Tom doesn't get too spooked and eventually recruits him to help. Not bad. Unfortunately, this is the only time the powers are used at all creatively, and very nearly the only time the powers are used at all. There is the opening scene of each of them using their powers, but like I said earlier, it is all for kind of stupid things, and the scenes don't really work and certainly are not creative. Other positives include, there are some good landscape shots, I guess. I like the snowy forest, so that's nice. Well, I guess it's time to talk about the negatives. I actually found it kind of difficult to explain what doesn't work about this movie, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. For starters, some of the acting in this movie is terrible. A lot of it is pretty good, especially the stuff from Morgan Freeman, but some of it is just awful.
No, you bastard, no!
I don't know if it was the directing, but it seems like the movie dragged everyone's acting down a notch. Bryan Cranston has said he can raise a script up a letter grade, like taking a C script up to a B, and Dreamcatcher managed to do the opposite. It took some A and B actors and ended up with mostly C and D performances and a few Fs.
What do you want?
The tone of this movie does not help the performances, which brings me to my next point. The humor in this movie is painfully unfunny. It is mostly dumb toilet humor, literally pee and poop jokes, which in and of themselves would not be particularly funny, and when combined with the tone of the rest of the script, come off as even more out of place. Remember when I was describing Duddits and how he developed cancer, and how his mother heartbreakingly waved goodbye to him, knowing the alternative to him going on this adventure was to die trapped in his bedroom? Well, that same movie also has this scene.
Don't get freaked out, or think that I'm some kind of weirdo who you shouldn't meet for the best fried clams in Maine. Just some innocent fried clams at the West Wharf.
It's like they looked at some of these scenes and thought, what would be the dumbest thing we could do here? When I was watching the alien slug scene, I thought, okay, well, they're setting up the most predictable thing ever. Then there was a moment when I thought, oh, that's not quite dumb enough, is it? At which point I realized they were going to have him pee in the snow, which revealed the slug. Gotta find a way to throw in some toilet humor, I guess. Going from this...
Oh my god.
To this...
I miss you, Henny. I miss you.
My God, Roberto, what is it?
Lymphocytic leukemia.
Is an absolute whiplash in tones that doesn't really work and drags the movie down. My next criticism comes from the friend group itself. It is obvious we are supposed to be endeared to the friend group, happy to see them all together again, and sad when each of them dies. Seems like basic storytelling, but something is just missing. The dynamic doesn't quite work, and they aren't quite well enough developed at the beginning. By the time we make it to the flashback, it feels like it is distracting from the story rather than adding to it. I think one flaw in the film is starting out by showing all of the friends separately, which takes up a lot of valuable screen time that could have been spent developing their camaraderie. It is clear they thought they had enough friend stuff to work, because by the end of the film there is a cheesy slow motion shot of them sitting around the table like, oh wow, remember this? Wasn't this nice? Look at this wonderful group of friends shooting the shit around this table. Wow, we did such a good job making you like these guys, didn't we?
Nope.
And with a horror movie, it is important for the audience to feel something for the characters, so when they start to die off, we feel sad. But that never really happened with this movie. If I had to pick one flaw that was the most responsible for this movie failing, I would pick that one. The friend group failure really sinks the entire production, though there is also a fragmented plot that jumps around a lot. The introduction of the military is a bit of a trope by now. I loved it when they did it in The Blob, but it comes off as a bit shallow here. The powers are used intermittently at best. When they first find the woman in the road, the two friends walk up to her to make sure she is okay, but couldn't they, use their mind-reading powers to see what is going on with her? And if they couldn't use their mind-reading powers, wouldn't that be suspicious? Because can't they read the minds of any human? So if they can't read her mind, it would mean she's not human? Maybe there's an explanation for all this in the book, but this is a movie, and it is definitely not in the movie. These details are not fatal in and of themselves, but in combination with everything else that doesn't work, the movie ends up just sinking further and further into an oblivion of its own making. When Hubie Halloween has almost twice as high of a Rotten Tomatoes score as your serious sci-fi horror adaptation, something's gone horribly wrong. Overall, Dreamcatcher is a movie that should work but doesn't. At all. Its failures are mostly self-inflicted, simple and critical elements are missing, like the friend group being better developed or getting good performances from good actors. I have never read the book, so I can't say if the problem is staying too close to the source material or straying too far away, but whatever they did, it didn't work. I will probably forget how bad this movie is and end up watching it in a couple years, so I guess if I had to say something nice, I would say it's forgettable. It's easy to forget how bad it is. Is that a nice thing? I guess it will have to do, since there isn't much to enjoy here, even for someone with an icy horror obsession.